You're eating less than you used to. You're working out more than you have in years. And somehow, everywhere else on your body, the weight is coming off. Your arms are leaner, your face looks different, even your legs have changed. But your midsection? It hasn't moved a single inch. You've probably stood in front of the mirror wondering what's actually different about you now compared to 10 years ago, when the exact same effort used to work. If that sounds like exactly what you're going through, I want you to hear this clearly, right at the start. Your body isn't broken, and you are not doing something wrong. There's a specific biological loop running inside your midsection right now, one that most men never get told about, one your doctor probably never mentioned in a 10-minute appointment. And understanding it is going to change how you think about every single thing you try from here on out. Here's what I'm going to show you today. There's a single enzyme sitting inside the fat around your stomach that is actively working against every diet and every workout plan you throw at it. Not because you're doing it wrong, not because you lack discipline. It's biology quietly running in the background, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why the plan that worked when you were 30 completely stopped working the moment you crossed 40. Once you see this mechanism clearly, once you can actually picture what's happening inside your own body, the constant frustration of doing everything right and seeing nothing change is finally going to make sense. And more importantly, you'll know exactly what to do differently. Here's what's actually happening inside your body right now. After 40, you don't just gain more fat. The fat you already have starts behaving differently than it used to. The fat sitting around your organs, the kind pressing against your belt, isn't passive storage anymore, quietly sitting there doing nothing. It starts acting almost like its own small gland, producing its own chemical signals and sending them out into the rest of your body, influencing hormones you'd never think fat tissue could touch. Think of it less like a spare tire sitting quietly on your waist, and more like a small factory that switched on sometime in your 40s, running 24 hours a day, and its main product happens to be working directly against your fat loss goals. Once you understand what that factory is actually producing and why, the rest of this video is going to click into place fast. There's actually solid research behind why this age is such a turning point. Metabolic research out of Stanford has pointed to a real, measurable shift in how the body processes and stores food, happening specifically around the mid-40s, not gradually across your whole adult life like most people assume. That's not a small detail. It means the sudden feeling that something changed isn't in your head. Something genuinely did change at a biological level, and it happened faster than most people expect. Point 1. Your belly fat is quietly turning your own testosterone into estrogen. Inside abdominal fat sits an enzyme called aromatase. Its job in simple terms is to convert testosterone into estrogen. In small, normal amounts, this is completely healthy. Every man produces some estrogen, and it plays an important role in bone health, brain function, and more. The problem is what happens as belly fat increases over time. The more abdominal fat you carry, the more aromatase your body produces, and the more of your testosterone gets converted into estrogen. Higher estrogen levels then send a signal back to your body to store even more fat specifically around the midsection. What this means for you is that this isn't a one-time event that happens and stops. It's a loop that keeps feeding itself. More belly fat creates more of the enzyme, which creates more estrogen, which creates more belly fat round and round. That's a big part of why cutting calories alone so often stalls out around this exact area of the body, even when the scale is technically moving in the right direction everywhere else. You're not just fighting a math problem of calories in versus calories out, you're fighting a hormonal feedback loop that keeps resetting itself. The actionable step here is straightforward. Prioritize resistance training over pure calorie cutting as your main tool, because building and maintaining muscle mass helps improve your body's testosterone to estrogen balance in a way that dieting alone simply cannot replicate. Point 2. You're quietly losing the exact tissue that burns the most calories at rest. Starting around your 40s, most men begin gradually losing muscle mass, a natural process researchers call sarcopenia. This matters far more than most people realize, because muscle tissue burns a disproportionately large share of your daily calories, even when you're doing nothing at all, sitting at your desk, watching a game, or asleep in bed. As your muscle mass slowly declines year after year, your resting metabolic rate, the number of calories your body burns just to stay alive, declines right along with it. What this means for you is that eating the exact same way you did in your 30s will now result in more stored fat, not because your discipline has changed, but because the underlying calorie math has quietly shifted beneath you without your permission. The actionable step here is protein and resistance training together, not just one or the other in isolation. Research has consistently shown that resistance training, done consistently over time, creates what's known as an afterburn effect, where your metabolism stays measurably elevated for hours after the workout itself has ended, which helps offset that natural age-related decline in a way that cardio alone tends not to. Point 3. Chronic stress is sending a direct storage signal straight to your midsection. When you're under ongoing day-after-day stress, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol served an important, genuinely useful purpose for most of human history. It helped the body store quick-access energy reserves during real physical threats, like a shortage of food or actual physical danger. The problem in the modern world is that abdominal fat cells appear to carry an unusually high number of cortisol receptors compared to fat cells elsewhere on the body, which means your midsection specifically is more sensitive to stress signals than almost anywhere else you carry weight. What this means for you is that a stressful, high-pressure stretch of your life isn't just uncomfortable mentally and emotionally. It may genuinely be working against your fat loss goals at a biological level, regardless of how clean your diet is or how consistent your gym schedule looks on paper. The actionable step here is protecting your sleep with the same seriousness you protect your training schedule, since poor, inconsistent sleep is one of the fastest, most reliable ways to keep cortisol elevated throughout the entire day, not just at night. Here's the part that reframes everything you just heard. Your body isn't broken, and it isn't failing you. It's doing exactly what evolution spent hundreds of thousands of years designing it to do. Storing fat centrally around the midsection in direct response to stress was a genuine survival advantage for most of human history. It meant quick, accessible energy during a famine, an illness, or real physical danger, back when those threats were constant and unpredictable. The problem is that this design was built for a completely different world than the one you're living in now. Your body, at a biological level, cannot tell the difference between a genuine famine 3,000 years ago and a stressful string of emails at 11 o'clock at night. It fires off the exact same ancient signal either way, every single time. You're not failing at modern life. You're running very old, very effective software on very new hardware it was never originally designed for. The story moment, a few years ago, I watched a friend of mine, let's call him Mark, 44 years old at the time, do everything the right way for a solid year straight. He counted every single calorie. He ran 4 times a week without fail. He barely touched alcohol, even at social events where everyone around him was drinking. And his belly fat simply did not move while the rest of his body got visibly, noticeably leaner around it. He genuinely started to wonder if something was medically wrong with him, because nothing about the effort side of the equation had changed. What actually shifted things for him wasn't more effort at all. It was less cardio and more strength training, combined with an honest, uncomfortable look at how little sleep he was actually getting during a brutal stretch at work that had quietly become his new normal. Within a few months, without dramatically changing his calorie intake, his midsection finally started shifting for the first time in years. Nothing about his willpower had changed in that time. What changed was that he finally stopped fighting the wrong mechanism and started working with the right one. He told me afterward that the hardest part wasn't the training. It was letting go of the belief that more running and less food would eventually have to work if he just pushed harder. Sometimes the answer isn't more effort in the same direction. It's a different direction entirely. Conclusion. So here's what you now know that you probably didn't 20 minutes ago. Stubborn belly fat after 40 isn't just about calories in versus calories out. It's a hormonal loop involving an enzyme sitting inside the fat itself, a natural age-related decline in the exact muscle tissue that keeps your metabolism running, and a stress hormone that specifically, disproportionately targets your midsection above anywhere else. Understanding that loop, all 3 pieces of it together, is what finally lets you work with your biology instead of constantly fighting against it and wondering why nothing's changing. I want to ask you one thing in the comments below. What's the one approach you've genuinely tried that didn't work the way you expected it to? I read every single reply, so tell me honestly. And if this helped connect some dots for you today, consider subscribing. There's a lot more of this kind of straight talk, no fluff biology coming.